Nancy.
Hi.
and Carson. Hi, guys.
How are you?
I'm good. How's my sound? What do you think of that?
I think you're sounding just like you're back in the studio on the Fox lot.
Awesome. This is a super sensitive microphone.
Carson is by far the biggest Simpsons fan I have met.
The Geekazoid himself.
Yes, he
Nice.
is.
She hears that all the time. Whoever the biggest Simpsons fan is,
but this in this instance, it's this is something that Carson's been waiting for. Talking with you, me as well. But Carson, he has had the reins on this, and I'm excited myself. But watching Carson and how amped up he's like, I got my poster, I got everything. It's beautiful to watch. So we're so excited to have you on.
I see you have that that Abbey Road poster. Is that what's behind you?
Yeah,
that's
Bart?
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looking good.
That's cool. And Ryan, come on. You've been Simpsonized there, dude.
I know.
Both of you, right?
That's right.
Show her our friend in the middle.
Here, I'm gonna go lower.
Ta-da! It's me.
There we go.
Where'd you get that?
We have a good friend of ours. She's really talented. Good friend from Germany that we commissioned to do that piece. I think she needs to be working for The Simpsons though. That looks pretty dang good.
It does.
I got news for you. I think we've hired this gal like multiple times. I think she has done so much because I gave these out as Christmas gifts and give these out as gifts to people that we work with in the entertainment industry. And I Simpsonize them and personalize items that are sitting on the tables. And instead of the boat, it's something else sometimes, or there's something on the floor.
Right.
And I think this may be the same gal, and she is incredible.
Kind of before we get going, I just do want to say on a more personal note, I know how much time it takes to do stuff like this. And then also when you're putting a creative piece out there that's personal, I mean, how personal this is for you, from talking about, your mom, with ovarian cancer, because my family's been hit by cancer as well. Everything from down to that to, the adversity that you faced to success. I just want to congratulate you on this amazing piece.
Well, thank you. Wow. That was so sincere. I really appreciate it.
No, it was amazing getting to, I mean, I've listened to it 2 times back and it's like,
dude,
it's
nice.
Yeah, right. I'm single, by the way. If you couldn't tell. But you're
so am I. That's why I had time to do it.
Right. But those 6 steps, are you kidding me?
Thanks.
I could just listen to those steps. Yeah, those are amazing. So we'll uncover that and kind of go through that and everything. But we want to just uncover everything because you deserve to talk about it and your process. So I guess here's how we're gonna start, Nancy. We're gonna start with this book. Back in 2000, you write this amazing piece. And you uncover the behind the scenes of what it's like to voice kind of the most popular kid in television. That comes out in 2000. And then all these years later, 2 decades later, you decide to do an audiobook. What's the main mindset? What's with that? What was the mindset going in there?
Yeah. No, well, I mean, 20 years is gosh, that's a lifetime for some people. 20 years. A lot happened in those short 20 years. We got a star on Hollywood Boulevard. We played at the Comedy Arts Festival in Aspen, Colorado. We performed 3 nights at the Hollywood Bowl. I went on and became a grandmother and wrote an episode of The Simpsons. Ended up producing a couple of films. And just enough had gone by that I felt like it was time for an update. I get a lot of questions from people and I go, the universe is being kind to me and I'm listening. And the universe wants to know, how did you do what you're doing? And why are you doing that now? And so I decided to just come out with another version. But the cool thing about this latest version, I'm Still a 10-Year-Old Boy, is that I've taken that first version and kept the juicy stuff. I mean, you're still going to get the history of The Simpsons, obviously, that will never change. That's always been there. But what I add to it is I add all these celebrities like Meryl Streep and J.K. Simmons and Kirk Douglas, Mickey Rooney. I talk about 50 Cent and Anne Hathaway. And I got permission to use clips of them when they performed on The Simpsons. And so those clips are in there. But even more than that, I saved some audio tapes that I went back and forth with my great mentor, Dawes Butler, when he was like 65 and I'm 18, 19 years old. And I've got my tapes and his tapes and then kind of edited them together. So you hear kind of naive Nancy Cartwright talking to Dawes Butler, I don't sound like I do physically. I don't sound, my voice is like, hi, Dawes. There's an ethereal kind of a quality, angelic almost to my voice where I just didn't have any experience at all. But I had this line with this pioneer who was willing to kind of take me under his wings. And so I've got some little clips of Dawes offering me some sage advice, which I then pass on to the listener.
I think you're touching on something really cool. And we talked about this actually with someone that you've had a conversation with, Candy Milo. And we loved having her on the podcast. But one thing that she mentioned and that we've heard you mention is how close-knit the voiceover community is. Can you touch on that community and what makes it so special being a part of it?
You know what? I think, to be honest with you, this is my viewpoint, but it's like people are people. People are going to do what they do. And I think you create relationships. You have the ability to create a relationship or a family with every group that you're involved in, whether it's a Rotary Club or a Boy Scout troop or a Girl Scout troop or the voiceover industry or being on a show like a series, like the people working on Family Guy or even a live action show. In rehearsals, it's sort of like there's a dynamic that is created there. But I think people are people, and people have problems, and people change, people get married, they get divorced, they have babies, they have grandkids, and people change and evolve. And it's whatever you put into that you're going to, whatever you put into it, you're going to get out of it. I tend to be a person that I like to create relationships. I like establishing like a familial type thing, but sometimes like with The Simpsons, not so much. It's not set up that way because we go in to do our job. And unlike an on-camera show, we're not sitting around a lot and there's no rehearsals going on. We go in to do our job, and gee whiz, you go and you get quiet food to eat in between takes so that you're not crunching potato chips or biting on a carrot, And if you can grab a little nibble as we're working from 10 until 2, which is some point in time, you're going to get kind of hungry. If you're not in a scene, you go in and scarf some food, some nice quiet pasta. That's always a good choice, is a banana or nice quiet pasta. But do you know what I mean? It's like, I personally wish that we were closer, but it's not. The dynamic isn't quite set up that way because we go in, we do our job, and most people have other things to do, and they need to get out and on their way, and off we go. So I think early on, very early on, like I'm talking like in the mid 80s, when I was starting to really work quite a bit before I was cast as Bart, they were tight little family groups of My Little Pony and Snorks and Pound Puppies, and that I would work with these actors, and we would run into each other all the time. And that's kind of, I feel sadly in a way that that's sort of a bygone era, because now there's actors they're really just trying to go from, they're making a living. They need to go from gig to gig, and it's scheduled in such a way that mostly it's all done separately. We're not done as a group much anymore.
Right. So now this is off topic because you end up doing and recording the audiobook kind of at the heart of the pandemic, by my understanding.
Yeah.
So since then, has there been kind of some more normalcy as you continue to produce these episodes? Are you back in the studio, or do you just do this strictly from your house now?
They're really smart. They're leaving it up to us. They sent us, we've got mics, and I've got a Focusrite, this I forget what this instrument is called. It kind of acts as an in between kind of thing that hooks up the microphone to my computer. I can do it at home, or I can go in. I prefer to go in because I'm not much of an engineer. I actually have a guy that really helps me out, because sometimes there's a little troubleshooting that has to take place to make it sound professional. I like to go in because I just want to go in and do my job, and I don't mind riding on the freeway, and I play good music, have a little snack pack there, and get myself across the 405, and then I'm in, and I get to say hi to a few people. At home, it's 2.5 years later, it's like, okay,
right.
I'm a people person, and I love being around and talking to people and finding out how they're doing, and but they're very respectful of our personal needs. And some people, if for some reason somebody needs to stay home, whatever, we do it, and everybody wins. I think voiceovers was the only thriving industry in all of entertainment that was consistently working, and we never stopped working during COVID, never. Right. And there was a stop to all production at some point in time.
Right. And I think that's what's so cool about the Simpsons family, though, is that, and you do talk about that in the audiobook about, how close knit that is, whether it's you and Dan, or just the mutual respect of one another. Because you have been doing this now for quite some time together. So it is cool to see that there is that closeness. Before we get too carried away and talk about a lot of, what has gone down with the Simpsons, I want to talk about you as a kid, because in audiobook you touch on this, and I think it is so cool how you found your voice. And I think that's such an important stage in life, whether you're in elementary or middle school, you're trying to kind of find your voice. And you're 10 years old, and you're in this competition, and you're reading How the Camel Got His Hump, a book I'm familiar with. Right.
No way.
That is just such a beautiful story. But then, you end up playing this 10-year-old too, is just the irony in it. But
I know, right, Carson? It's so bizarre. And it wasn't even funny, just this fable by Rudyard Kipling, and it wasn't funny, but I had short hair and long bangs, and somehow I did something and it evoked a laugh from the audience, and I kind of liked that, and so I did it again, and it worked again. And next thing you know, I'm walking away with first place on a piece that wasn't even a comedy. Right. And I think I knocked everything over and ended up on the ground, but I stood up and I kept going. And just, the show must go on. But wow, that's something that I realized I did that myself. I created something out of nothing, and they liked it, and I liked that feeling. So I started to pursue other avenues like children's theater. I think I started when I was 12 or 13, and I was that young, and everybody else was 16, 17, 18. So that's a big difference in age. And we traveled around the state of Ohio doing these original children's theater productions. And I think the first year I did it, I actually played an American Indian. I was one of 3 Indians. And then the next year I played a giant. I played a giant because Luau Cinder was on summer break or something, and they needed to get somebody to step in to play that. I was some bizarre reason why I was a giant, but I wasn't even 4 feet tall. I can't tell you, but it got a laugh. And I learned how to say the alphabet backwards. I was waiting for my entrance underneath the stage that was folded down, and there was a trap door there. I'm waiting for my cue, listening to these 3 princesses, and one of them was super smart, and she could say the alphabet backwards. ZYXWVTSRQPUNMLKJHDAFDCBA. And I learned how to do that summer, and I was so proud of myself. And I learned how to drip like a faucet. These things that you learn as a kid that you hold with you the rest of your life, that it was just destined to do voiceovers and do sound effects, right?
Right.
That was going to be my next question as you were doing that, because when Carson told me, when I started to listen to the audiobook, he goes, look out for some of the sounds, because I thought that they were, oh, Nancy probably just pulled them from somewhere and put them in. And he's like, no, that's Nancy. And I'm like, I was like, I don't think so. And hearing that confirms it. It's impressive. I can't. Well,
the craziest sound that you do is before you got on The Simpsons, you do some voice acting for Who Framed Roger Rabbit. You do the most niche.
I know. When people hear that I was the shoe that got dipped in acid, they're like, "Oh my God, you were the shoe that got dipped in acid." Oh, that's such an amazing part. Oh my God, Nancy, I mean, seriously, that's what I am like. Oh man, that's like people remembering me from high school when I fell. They hung me up on this. They rigged me like I was flying over the choir, and the rigging broke and I fell like 15 feet. And that's how I was fine. I stood up in my halo. I was an angel, and my halo was bent over my head. I'm like, keep singing.
That's commitment right
that's
there.
That's how I'm remembered. Not for all the first place trophies that I garnered.
Right. Oh my goodness. Well, it's so funny because in chapter 2 of your book, you start to talk about this move to LA. You're going to meet your boy Daz Butler, which is just still so surreal. That you guys kind of have this collaboration. But at the same time, it's this daunting task. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm making this change from Ohio to UCLA and, kind of doing it alone. What was that like?
That was tough because, first of all, I'd never been on an airplane before. I didn't know anybody. I mean, I knew Dawes because we had corresponded with each other, but I didn't really know him. He was being, like an uncle to me who I'd never met. Mm-hmm. And just also 2 weeks prior to that, my mother had passed away, and going through the loss, I'm one of 6 kids, and going through the loss of our mom was just, the feeling of guilt and wondering why it ever happened and all this. And I didn't have enough time to really grieve the loss of my mom when cousins and family were asking, what are you going to do? Because that whole summer, my mom and dad had planned, and we had all planned that they were going to fly out with me and make sure that I was settled in at UCLA, where I got accepted. And when the time came, it was just my dad and me. And, my dad, he lived a long almost 93 years. He lived a long life. But one of my fondest memories is thinking back when he brought me out to Los Angeles, and I swear I was the only kid. Here I am. Most of them are freshmen in college, but I was the only one whose dad actually came with her to sign up for courses. I mean, all these other kids were, young adults and taking care of business. And there I am with my dad. And I didn't think anything of it. And I didn't think what that must have looked like to other people, that like my dad kind of not literally, but, you know, emotionally holding my hand, because it was a tough time for both of us. And not to go on too long about it, it's like he made sure I was fine, and then he headed back home, and within a year he met this great woman, and a little shortly after that he remarried, because he had had such a good relationship with my mom, and he wanted to continue to be married. And I met her. She was a great lady. And then everybody was off, and, you know, I'm settled in at UCLA and doing my thing and working with Oz Butler. And yeah, it was quite, we all go through changes. We all go through struggles. And if somebody out there is thinking that, you know, oh, Nancy Cartwright, she's got, you know, what a cake piece of life. She, you know, Cinderella story. And it is a Cinderella story. I don't deny that. I do have a Cinderella story, but everybody's got obstacles. Everybody's got problems that they have to overcome. And money can provide you with some nice things, but it doesn't necessarily solve your problems. It actually creates other kinds of problems that you never had before that. I don't think people are going to be playing a small violin for me, but it's a way of, you just gotta, it's a trial and error thing. And you gotta, you know, work relationships, and meaning, you know, be in communication with people, and help to the degree that you can help, and still keep your own integrity and keep your goals and things like that. Life's a challenge. It isn't easy for anybody.
That's really inspiring, Nancy. And I think what is so inspiring, motivating about it is how you were able to persevere through hardships, but then you're also making a move to LA, and then you're having to start your career amidst everything going on. So you're obviously an inspiration to Carson and I, but being able to do that in tough situations is impressive. And also to where you're at now, you can look back and say, like, all the hard work you did, where you were at mentally and where you got yourself, all for the best. So congratulations on being able to accomplish that.
Oh, thanks, Ryan. Thanks for saying that.
Incredible.
Yeah. I mean, if whatever I say in the book, you know, inspires people, towards the end of the book, I get into a little bit, some more philosophical things, but there's these little nuggets along the way, like trust your instincts, surround yourself with people that, you know, really respect you and support what you're doing. Because look, it's tough no matter what kind of an artist you are. It's so challenging to make a living, you know, being an artist. It's most people do not make a living doing it. That you've still got to find some kind of an outlet. And today, gosh, there's so many opportunities, whether it's TikTok or Instagram or whatever social media, making a short little film or something. There's all kinds of opportunities out there for anyone to be able to express him or herself, whether it's with dance or music or putting a short little film together or getting some friends together and doing a reading or doing voice characterizations, improvisations, or impersonations of singing or just talking. It's limitless in what it is that you can do, and far more opportunities now than when I was starting out, you know, in the late 70s, early 80s.
Right. And, you know, it's funny because probably my favorite form of storytelling, what draws me to storytelling, is the hero's journey. It's something that, you know,
Joseph Campbell.
Yeah, exactly. It always just kind of draws me back in. And as you're, you know, kind of talking throughout your audiobook, I couldn't help but think that this stage within the hero's journey is kind of when the hero loses himself and he's at this bottom and despair. And when you're at, you know, UCLA and you talk about, you know, losing your mom, being alone, being kind of lost, not having that creativity, but then you're dealing with these migraines, and you end up passing out. To me, that is the bottom, right? That's you at your worst. And I think your ability to go through that adversity and then prevail and not be complacent with it and say, I'm just going to move back home. Let's just get through this, but not just to do that, but then within that next couple of years, you just keep trucking along inch by inch, and you end up on the Fox lot after a lot of these opportunities that that you got for The Simpsons, which at that time was the Tracy Ullman show as well. Take me through that process. What was the mindset when you heard about this show, the Simpsons, kind of the initial idea, how it was kind of shorter little episodes at first?
Yeah. Well, my agent told me that they were looking for some voices, just a couple voices to play. And for me, it was like 8-year-old middle child. And it was a show about this family called The Simpsons. And so that's all I got was a description of Lisa. And I thought, well, I'll go in. It sounds, an opportunity here. But but what was interesting was that it wasn't really a show. It was just these little vignettes on the Tracy Ullman show. So when I went in, there was the audition. It was like a monologue of Lisa and a description of her. But right next to that was a picture of Bart and a description of Bart. Hers was 8-year-old middle child, and his was like a 10-year-old underachiever, school hating, recalcitrant, underachiever and proud of it, or something like that. And I'm like, wow, that sounds far more exciting than an 8-year-old middle child. That doesn't. And Yardley went on to develop, and Lisa is one of the great animated characters of all time. Who wouldn't want their kid to be like Lisa Simpson?
Right.
Son or daughter, it doesn't matter. It's like she's a good kid, And but Bart, oh man, come on. It just like he pulled at my heartstrings because he was just trouble. And I just, there was no question about it. I shook hands with Matt Groening and said, I want to do the kid. And next thing you know, I'm doing it and saying blah, 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 blah. And he, oh my God, you're hired. That's him. And he hired me on the spot. And I walked away from there, not like, oh my God, I can't believe I just got this show. This is going to be on the air for 40 years, 45 years. I'm still going to be doing it. I'm going to be on this amazing podcast with Brian and Carson. And it's like, we're going to be killing it, man. Still talking about this show.
This is the peak, Nancy. It goes downhill from here.
It was just like, no, I walked away going, oh, cool, another job. I got another job. And it was not until, I don't know, season 2 of when we finally went to a half hour, that kind of realized, and we would only negotiate 2 years at a time. It was always like, couldn't sleep at night. They were taking my job away from me. It's like, God, I don't want to ask for a dime more because I feel like I'm going to lose my job. And an executive was saying they could go down to the elementary school and cast any 10-year-old kid to play the voice of Bart Simpson. I'm like, what? F you. Come on, man.
Right.
But, nobody knew anything about that. So it was, we had also, mind you, it's like I had been doing My Little Pony, Glow Friends, Snorks, Pound Puppies, Richie Rich, Popeye and Son, Galaxy High. I've been doing 7 or 8 animated Saturday morning syndicated shows because there was no cable and there was no streaming, no internet, and doing quite well. I was thinking about, I could probably buy a house now. Maybe I can buy a house, and like working my butt off and doing pretty decent. And when The Simpsons came along, so when I got cast in that show, it took all of my courage, and I don't want to give it all away, but I'm glad I kept my mouth shut and didn't tell them what to do. Like, why is it taking 9 hours to record 21 minutes of dialogue? It didn't make sense to me, but I had enough decorum, I guess, or I just decided it's best, since I'm brand new, since we're all new, let's just keep your mouth shut and not be little Miss Bossy Pants. Because that would have been easy for me to do and say, you guys, I've been doing this a long time. We should, blah, 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 blah. Next thing you know, I'm not part of the ensemble anymore. And I'm glad I kept my mouth shut. My big mouth shut.
So obviously The Simpsons, you're working on it. One thing Carson really showed me with my introduction, because my initial introduction to The Simpsons was Krusty Land, The Simpsons ride at Universal. That was my first thing.
He's a little bit late to the game.
I'm late to the game, and then it was the Simpsons movie. I'm all out of whack, right?
Okay.
So he tells me, start watching these episodes. So it's season 1. I have them written down right here too, episode 11. So I see, okay, Crepes of Wrath. That's what Carson told me to watch first, where you speak some brilliant French.
Oh yeah, that was hard.
I bet I couldn't. It sounded really good though.
The magic of editing.
That's
Yeah, they did a great job, but they had to hire a French I guess accent specialist, and I had to write. I had taken classes at Ohio University before I transferred. I took some phonics classes, and I learned how to write phonetically. So on top of my script, I still have the script. I've saved every script over. I've got 736 scripts or something like that. And I saved them all, and I pulled it up, and I was looking at it not too long ago to see how I wrote it, because speaking in French is one thing, but actually knowing how to pronounce it. I mean, it's written in French, but how do you say it, man? It's like, how do you say this? So I wrote it phonetically and then got the accent down. And so now I'm kind of having to split my eyeballs. One of them reading it in English, so I know the acting aspect of it. What's the emotional curve that I have to put on this thing in order to make it make sense emotionally? And also I'm trying to read it in a language that I don't speak and trying to make sense out of it. That's one of the hardest things to date that I've ever done. And but it was worth it. I think it turned out pretty decent, but again, snip, snip, the magic of editing. Thank goodness.
It does sound incredible.
Right. So
I don't know. Actually, I might have to give you a few notes on it. I don't. No.
No, but the crazy part about that episode too is, that's season 1, right? Because season 1, I think, is only like 12 episodes, because it's, you're trying to make your mark. But then in season 2, another episode I forced, like Clockwork Orange, I forced Ryan to watch, was Bart Gets an F, which you
episode 1, season 2.
Yeah, exactly. You get asked in all these damn interviews, Nancy, about what's your favorite episode. And it's like the most annoying. It's like the most annoying question ever, because you've worked on these, but then you got 34 plus seasons to talk about.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you that. What I'm going to tell you though is that when anyone asks me what my favorite episode is, it's Bart Gets an F. Because
nice.
Because that resonated with me, because I was, and for lack of better words, Ryan knows this too, back in high school, but I was a dog shit student. I was not up to par. And that episode, quite frankly, got me in line. I watched that episode, and I mean this, it's not just because I'm talking to you, but your performance when you break down,
oh dude,
with Bart, it changed everything. It seriously did.
Well, thanks. That, I just did not want to hold back. I thought, you know what, if this is too much, they're going to let me know, and they're going to say, Nance, can you just pull, it's a cartoon. We're not doing, Cat on a Hot Tin Roof here. It's like, it's going to be fine. You got to pull it back. But no, they were awesome. They did it. And I just let her rip, man. And that was so fun. And I loved it. And Marsha Wallace, she was amazing. And she, that whole exchange at the end there with Bart and Marsha and, or Mrs. Krabappel. And I'm going back and I'm saying something, I don't know exactly, but something along the line of, don't you remember when Washington in 1776, when Washington was crossing the Delaware? And then, wait a minute, Bart, wait a minute. And she explains that it's some obscure reference, and she gives me a bonus point, and I get a D-. And I'm like, you mean I passed? I passed. I got a D-. I passed.
I kissed my teacher.
Kiss my teacher. Yeah, that was cool. That was,
man.
Wow, maybe after 34 years, I might have to start saying that's my favorite episode. But I like the musicals too. They're great. And I go into detail about that, and even do a little singing on there for you. Singing both Lisa's and Bart's parts, in Sherry Bobbins, which is really super fun. It's been such an awesome run. I'm telling you, and I don't want to say it as if we're over. We just started season not too long ago, started season 34.
Yep.
And this will be the last of this contract. But man, I can't believe we're COVID and everything going on. It's like the family we're still there.
Yeah.
Right.
We're all getting older. None of us are getting younger.
Right.
Knock wood that we keep going as long as our bodies can take it. Right.
Right. Well, the beautiful thing about Bart Gets an F is that the brilliant David Silverman directed that episode. And then he goes on all these years later to direct the Simpsons movie, which, man, growing up, that was the movie, because I think I was probably 6 when that came out. And so for a little 6-year-old, can I watch the Simpsons movie and see Bart's penis? That was a big no-no.
It's a doodle.
Right, exactly. That was a big no-no to my parents. I was like begged and begged and begged. They eventually let me watch it. But
I tell this awesome story, and I just got a lot of courage, and it started with a very small theater. But when you listen to the audiobook, I tell the story of renting perhaps one of the largest theaters in Los Angeles, the Cinerama Dome. And it started me renting a 50-seat theater, but it sold out just like that. So we upped it to a larger size theater and kept increasing it as the tickets, just by friends and family. And we ended up like doing a screening of my own at the Cinerama Dome for that movie. Wow. And I had all these, we did a what's it called? A raffle. Everybody had raffle tickets. And this was when, not the Quickie Marts, but like 7-Elevens were doing a whole campaign on it. And they had the donuts. So I went and got something like 40 of those donuts with the pink icing and all the sprinkles on top. And I said, I want every 10-year-old boy here in the audience to come down here. I've got something for every single 10-year-old boy. But not only did the 10-year-old boys come down, but the 32-year-old boys came down pretending that they were 10 years old. And I can't even believe it, you guys, but I ended up having exactly the right number of donuts so that everybody got one. So crazy.
That's more impressive with all the 32-year-olds coming down as well.
Right.
You accounted for them subconsciously, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Something like that.
That's right.
Well, that's amazing, because like I said, the Simpsons movie was kind of just this defining moment of like, we're going to up the ante. Like, we've got this amazing animated show. We're actually going to make a feature film as well. It almost kind of reminds me of this badass woman I know that had all the success in the world. She's done everything. She's acted. And then she says, you know what? I think I want to write a feature film. In Search of Felini. My goodness, what a brilliant film. You decide to write it, and the best part about it is, it's based off of these true events. Can you give us a little bit of insight, because we do know that there's some awesome behind the scenes, and then on Amazon and all that type of stuff, and then you talk about it in the audiobook, but just talk about that a little bit. I mean, what an awesome film.
Well, thank you. Gosh, thanks for bringing that up. This was in the mid 80s. This is before I was cast as Bart. I'm still, I was doing all these other animated shows and having a good time with it. But I sort of, deep down inside, I felt like there must be more. I wanted to challenge myself as an artist more than just doing different animated shows. And again, this was before the mother of all animated shows, was created by Matt Groening. So, but I just, as an artist, I felt like I was capable of doing much more than I was doing. So I was in this acting class, and my teacher had me I was doing all kinds of things, scenes from mostly films. And one of them was a rare film called La Strada by Federico Fellini. And a lot of people may not have heard of it. It might be way before their time, but I took a look at it because the lead character was this clown-like young woman. And I put up every scene, I think, in my acting class and recast different parts of these different characters to play with me. And I realized that I wanted to develop this thing into a full-length play, but I'd probably have to get the rights to do it from Fellini. But how am I going to do that? Well, long story short, I end up finding out where his office is in Rome, and I take off by myself. I was supposed to go with a girlfriend, but she backed out the night before. And here I am on a flight to Italy to go meet this icon. And I never really, nobody said, no, you can't do that. I just figured it just kind of makes sense. That's just what I should do. So I took off. I ended up in Milan, and my luggage goes to Frankfurt, Germany. I'm by myself, blonde hair, blue eyes. It's not tourist season. So I actually got a lot of attention. I ate, I drank, I fell in love. It was an odyssey. It wasn't just an adventure. It was a crazy odyssey. And by the end of the trip, I came home and I realized that my story was way better than telling a remake of Fellini's La Strada. So I started to develop it as a one-woman show. Right. And shortly after that, when I was developing it as a one-woman show, I fell in love. I got married, got pregnant on my honeymoon. Within a year, pregnant with number 2. And 10 years has gone by, and I still haven't done this one-woman show yet. So in 1995, I finished writing it. I put it up, produced it, did it in Hollywood. It got some attention, but then everybody started saying, you need to do this as a movie. This is a movie. And that started a 20-year dream, because there was no way. I don't know how to speak Italian. I don't know nobody in Italy. How am I going to do a movie about a young woman that goes to Italy when I can't speak the language and I'm not a filmmaker? How do you do that? But you know what? Time and the success of The Simpsons actually, combined with my patience, I guess, is what really kind of, it all started to come together. And it took a long time of writing 12, 15 versions of this, trying to pull in a producer that duplicated my vision. That's really hard to do. It's hard to hire somebody that to know your vision. So that's when I realized I had to produce it myself. So anyway, I found the best director, and he had his own take on it, and we started collaborating. And next thing you know, I cast Maria Bello and Marilyn Reiskub and Ksenia Solo, and we shot 2 weeks in Cleveland, Ohio, and 7 weeks in Milan, in Verona, in Venice, and in Rome. And this was a first-time film for almost, actually, with the exception of the actors, it was the first feature film that crew had ever done, and they got to go to Italy to do it. And it's a piece of my life. And when you watch it, I mean, it's available on Amazon and iTunes, and you're going to wonder how much of that is true. I think about 70 to 75% of it actually happened. I almost get raped. I get proposed to. A guy wants to marry me, but he was a street cleaner, a sweet, clean street cleaner is how I describe him. Anyway, it's something that is special to me. Although when people think Bart Simpson, they're not thinking Federico Fellini, but it is a part of me as an artist that I really felt like I wanted to express myself, because I know that all of us as artists can do so much. We're capable of so many things, not just one thing.
What were you just saying before this interview, Ryan, about Nancy? We were saying how much she is able to do, right?
No, I was telling Carson, I'm like, after we knew you have it on, and just researching and doing everything, I'm like, what can't Nancy do?
Right.
And it honestly it's mind-blowing, because I think about everything you're doing, whether it's, first of all, performing as Bart, any animated character that you're making sound effects. I can't fathom it. But then you're writing a feature film that's based on your life. You're very personal about it. You do a book, you do an audiobook, you're doing all these different things. It's really inspiring and motivating, I think, for both Carson and I to say, shit, we need to get up and start doing some more stuff. Like,
guys, I'm getting a fat head here. It's 7 and 5/8. It's now 7 and 3/4.
You're looking like Sideshow Bob over there.
Well, thanks for that. But it's just, I just feel like it's artists they're making a difference on the planet. And with guys like you that actually you support so many great artists in your podcast, it's fantastic that you offer a forum that we can present to your great listeners, other opportunities for them to be enlightened about what kind of art is out there and what you can learn from somebody's craft or from their skills and stuff. But I think it's the artist that really makes a difference on the planet. You look around and it's messed up, man.
Right.
Planet Earth is so messed up. Mankind, there's so much confusion going on right now, and people are desperate. They're desperate looking for answers and not knowing who to turn to and who to trust. And, parents that are trying to be teachers and kids that are having a hard time getting along with their siblings and trying to learn school at home, and divorces happening because we were not meant to be together that much. I mean, yes, I believe in in the sanctity of marriage, but seriously, 24/7, 365, I'm going crazy. I'm just going to lock myself in the bathroom, in the tub with the shower shut, the shower curtain shut. Just leave me alone for a half an hour.
Right.
I bet that's happened. I have no doubt in my mind that's happened. This is my space. You get the other bathroom. This is mine.
That's right.
Well, you know what? You're doing two things about that kind of the negativity that you're talking about that exists within the world right now. Number one, I think that is so cool is you're making an impact on advocating for individuals against drug usage. And I think that is so cool. And I love that you're using your voice for that. And then number two, as far as creativity goes, the Simpsons has always supplied just this surreal writing, everyone from Conan O'Brien to Brad Bird to, Al Jean, these incredible writers. Well, the nice thing about that is they produce brilliant work, but they're all, kind of white males. And so it's hard for these young women that are growing up to then go out and produce something. Yeah. And so something that's so cool that you end up doing is season 30, not just you writing my favorite episode of that season and then incorporating, Whiplash.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah. You end up, collaborating with Jennifer, this brilliant director too. And it's like these two women women that are just brilliant, kicking butt, and taking names on The Simpsons. Talk a little. That
is such a lovely plug for a minority that has almost been forgotten in our culture today. Women, it is a minority. Women are a minority. We are still struggling. We are still only getting 35% of what a dude gets.
Yep.
In terms of and I mean the statistics blow me away when the Producers Guild of America produces what the stats are for what's being done out there. I'm shocked in what it takes, and I don't know what it's going to take other than just somebody willing to make a stand and say, look, this is the director that I want. Look, this is the writer that I want. Now I was lucky because yes, my name is on that script for sure. But I'm also surrounded by some of the, top 20 men and women. There's a few women that are involved with it, but mostly it's dudes, surrounded by these amazing writers that are propping me up, and me getting an opportunity to play this game that normally I probably would not have the opportunity to do were it not for my relationship with that show.
Right.
But it's something, it was a goal and something that I really wanted to do, kind of like a little milestone along the way that I wanted to check it off and say, yep, I did write an episode on it. But I don't forget that, like, wow, going to the rewrites and showing up and looking at the animatic and talking to Jennifer and seeing what she did as a director. And I was just completely blown away by, she was so prepared for the first meeting that we took that was very early on. And she had all these sketches and a storyboard, and I could look at it and I was just like, oh man, you're making me look so good. Thank you so much. It's fantastic. And another little thing that I get to treasure, just a little treasure that I have for the rest of my eternity, that I have that. And I got that support from them.
Well, you ended up producing something just brilliant, especially after, that was season 30. You've come up with about every idea in the book, and then you come up with something unique. And then at the same time too, it's like triple woman empowerment, because you're the woman that plays Bart Simpson, and you make a Lisa episode, and it was so amazing. You incorporate family. Oh
my gosh, you got all of it, man! I'm so impressed.
Triple
Carson,
threat,
dude, you're such a fan.
I know. It's funny. Actually, our last guest we had on was Mike Ryanda. He's the director of Mitchell's. It was a animated film that got the Oscar nomination, and he was talking about how much he loved The Simpsons too, and how it propelled him to create this film. And I said, dude, I'm 22 years old. I'm on college campus, and I'm walking around with a Bart Simpson backpack. I said, it doesn't leave you, man. Like that.
Oh my gosh,
it doesn't leave you.
Now, are you in the same city?
So that's like I said, why we do this podcast is because I'm now out in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and Ryan's in Boulder, Colorado.
Yep.
Wow. And you're still best buds. I think that's and you came up with this idea. One of you came up with the idea and then pitched the other. Like, I'm so in. This is a great idea.
We used to have a movie review channel, and it was called Amigos Movie Reviews. And we started doing movie reviews, and it was very unsuccessful. And what was it? Maybe a couple years after that, or maybe 4 or 5. I don't know how long.
Yeah, it was when we ended up going to college. So it was after we graduated from high school, and
right.
So it was probably.
It was during COVID, actually.
Yeah,
okay.
But who brought up the idea though? Because I don't remember.
I think that for me, because the title of our show was late fee cinema. I was obsessed with Blockbuster.
Yes.
Kind of the whole concept behind that and everything. I think I pitched that name to you. I said,
you did.
I said, what do you think about late fee cinema? But it was more, I wanted it to benefit Ryan as he's kind of, navigating this film world and getting in there, which in kind of a good way, this helps me actually kind of wrap things up in a sense, because Ryan is just what you just bought, right? You just bought a place out in LA.
Yes, I'm in the process right now. I just signed my lease, so I'll be out of Boulder soon.
And you're taking the plunge and you're moving to LA?
I am.
Oh my gosh.
I am.
Wow, that's courage.
I'm excited. I'm scared.
Yeah.
I got every emotion, I think, as I make my way there. Do you have any tips for me when I get there to LA? What should I expect? What should I look out for? Anything that comes to mind?
Gosh, I'm just trying to think what I could suggest to you. I mean, obviously, networking is a really good idea. Meeting up with people that do and have the same interests that you have. I'm not sure how that's done. I know that the unions have networking type things. For you, maybe it would be connecting up with how would you do this? Like university. Maybe you could teach maybe they would let you go in and maybe do a live podcast from UCLA or USC. You could do it in front of a live audience, and they could interview you and stuff like that. But I'm just saying, you guys are so young, you could hook up with other young people. And I'm telling you, even to this day, I'll get invited to say, speak for the Rotary Club or something like that. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll do it. I can see why you, or the Police Activities League or the Boys and Girls Club. They'll have me come and present an award or something. And then the day comes and I'm like, why am I doing that? I'm so busy right now. I don't have time to do this. But I keep my word and I do it. And every single time, you guys, something comes out of it. Something comes out of it that I don't expect at all. Some relationship with somebody or a connection with somebody. And it's not totally selfish. It's something that I'm helping them with. And they're also helping me with. And it ends up being kind of a bit of a kismet, serendipitous kind of a gem that comes out of saying yes to something. Yeah. So I'm saying you should, my biggest suggestion would be for you to hook up with other individuals that are like-minded. Yeah.
That's amazing advice.
Ryan, he's just, oh my gosh, this film that Ryan is making right now is,
I appreciate it. That's very nice.
It's a stop motion animated film. And it's beautiful. The work that he's doing with the stop motion animator right now. Ryan's sending me these screen grabs and every single time I'm like jaw is dropping. Yeah. So I think that's going to be huge for Ryan, but then getting involved with, the same like-minded people will be really, really important. Your audiobook right now, I'm Still a 10-Year-Old Boy, is available on Audible. Can't recommend it enough. Yep. Also, though,
amazing.
Nancy is doing master classes. How amazing is that?
That's right.
I mean, she offers all this advice here on this podcast, but even furthermore, I think for individuals that want to get into the voice acting realm, the master class, from what I've seen, the little excerpts and the trailers, it looks amazing. So for those that want to continue to learn about Nancy, go through the audiobook, go through masterclass, and also whoever's running your social media, they're doing a heck of a job. I love all the little videos that they're putting out, like the 50 Cent video and like
that was great.
The Blinky video.
We have a lot of fun with that. Thank you.
They're doing amazing. So once again, Nancy, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
You guys, all the best. This was such a pleasure. I really enjoyed it. And I just think it's fantastic that you're doing what you're doing at the age that you are, and you're kind of busting through your own obstacles and creating a little animated film that could be very well end up being nominated as a short film. Wouldn't that be fantastic? And so this has been such a pleasure. Thanks for having me. And I wish you guys continued success in everything that you do.